So for me, I used to get all these butterflies and I would think, wow, I am so nervous. Like, how am I going to juggle this? And then I would let those nerves kind of dictate how the class went. We did a whole episode on how I used to kind of be a finals flop person of when the showtime would come, the prelims, I would dominate. But then it would come to the finals and I'd be almost dead last every time. And it wasn't because I wasn't good enough. It's because mentally I would crank myself up and then make so many mistakes. And once I got that control of my emotions and mind, the rest just came so much easier. And turning those nerves into quote unquote excitement and dedication and just kind of a reassurance that you are on the right track, I think that was a really, really big game changer for me. It provided a lot of mental clarity.
Welcome to Elevate Your Ride, the podcast dedicated to elevating your performance in the saddle. I'm Ellie, your personal trainer.
And I'm Lauren, your mindset coach.
Welcome back as we continue diving into my favorite book of all time, Relentless, by Tim Grover. If you recall from the first episode, Tim Grover is Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Dwayne Wade's personal trainer. He has taken all of this knowledge that he has gained from working with these incredible athletes and put them into this one little book. So that way we can learn the philosophies and the driving forces behind them and then apply them to our life, which is so cool. And while we might be looking at this through the lens of our equestrian competition, we can take so many of these theories and apply them into other areas of our lives. We can become a cleaner at work. We can become a cleaner in our house. Not like the actual cleaning of the house. We'll get the explanations and the definitions one more time for you, just in case you didn't catch that episode. Or we can become a cleaner in the show pen, which is ultimately what we're going to be using a lot of the examples from here. So just to kind of go back over those three different characters, we have coolers, closers, and what we are trying to become, a cleaner. So a cooler. A cooler is a player or a person who will do well under normal circumstances, but they kind of need to be told what to do. They avoid all risk and responsibility. They show up, they go through the motions, they make it happen. But if things go wrong, they're not going to be the one that says, hey, that was my fault. Let me make a few edits and adjustments. So for me, an area of my life where I'm a cooler is doing the dishes. It is not my favorite thing, but I know how to clean dishes and I know it needs to get done, so I do it. The dishes are always clean, they're always put away, but are they maybe the most sparkly? And I mean, they're pretty organized, so I guess you could say that. But is it something that I am enthusiastic and can't wait to go do? No, I just go through the motions, get it done, move on to the next. So the next level up from a cooler would be a closer. So a closer is someone who can execute under pressure, but they still rely on a game plan. They can deliver when they're expected to, but they're not unstoppable. And if things don't necessarily go according to plan, they can't think on their own to be able to come up with a better solution. One area where I'm a closer and working towards becoming a cleaner would honestly be podcasting. I love it and I'm learning and I'm trying so hard, but it's not natural for me. And I definitely have to give myself a lot more of a game plan than, let's say, Ellie. Ellie is a cleaner, beyond cleaner when it comes to podcasting. She just turns it on and her natural instincts take her to the zone and she just rolls. But for me, I kind of need to have a little bit of a warm up and a game plan. And the adjustments, they go okay, but it's not as natural per se for me. And then finally, it comes to being a cleaner. These are the rarest and most elite competitors or businessmen or housekeepers. They don't wait for permission. They don't rely on motivation, and they perform at their best, even in chaos. So for me, and I'm going to say this as humbly as I can, but I don't know how to make it come across any other way than what it's going to sound like. But I think that I am a cleaner when it comes to caring for and showing my horse and working with these young horses that I have bought to develop into show horses. A cleaner in the horse world is somebody who shows up when it's 19 degrees outside. They show up when it's 110 degrees outside. They put in the extra mile when it comes to what their trainers want. They don't rely only on the information that is directly in front of them. They will look outside the box and be able to put it together. A cleaner is somebody who, when they step up to that start cone, no matter how nervous they are, they channel that into excitement and focus, and they reach a whole nother level that they didn't even know was within them. And it is so exciting to watch a cleaner do even just the most mundane aspects of whatever it is their project is. So let's say you're a cleaner when it comes to your job at home, and the job is going and giving a business presentation on the cattle markets in Detroit. So you would be relentless about finding every single morsel of information that you could put onto a spreadsheet that would be convincing and easy and able to tell a story to whatever investors that you need to present it to. And when you walk into the room, you have such a commanding presence that everyone turns their head and they say, wow, I really want to hear what they have to say. And when you are done, you have performed with so much conviction because you were that prepared and it was that solid within you that they said, yes, whatever they say, I'm on board with. Everyone wants to be relentless, but not everyone is willing to do what it takes. Because being a cleaner, it will take all of you. So let's dive into the traits of the cleaners. These are so fun. They're going to make you think. They're going to make you wonder, hey, do I even want to be a cleaner? Because some of this stuff's a little crazy. But maybe you'll hear it and it'll resonate with you and say, yeah, that's me. So the first one, when you're a cleaner, you keep pushing when everyone else has had enough. A cleaner shows up to the barn an hour early. A cleaner shows up to the barn even when it's cold. A cleaner shows up to the barn even when they're tired and it's day 6 of a 10-day long run. A cleaner is when we were at Sun Circuit and the arenas were completely mudded out from all the rain that we happened to get. And I showed up at 3:30 in the morning to ensure that my horse would be lunged and have proper warm-up to be able to perform at his best ability. Because to me, what was comfortable for me didn't matter. What mattered was what would set my horse up for success, because his comfort was more important than mine. Because I can mentally out-tough my uncomfortable state, whereas you cannot expect that from your horse. And so even when everyone else was like, that's crazy, we want to sleep in or we want to stay out late tonight, it is pushing through and saying, this is what needs to get done, and I will show up and do it. Being relentless means demanding more of yourself than anyone else could ever demand of you. That's a quote that I could probably, have printed out and read every single day. Because you know what? My trainers didn't expect me to be out there at 3:30 in the morning, but I did. And I was thankful that I did because, you know what? Once the time came to actually show, my horse felt so prepared and comfortable that it allowed me to show up better in that pen too. So by doing what nobody expected me to do, it made the rest of the experience so much easier. And when you're pushing through, this consistency, it doesn't come from motivation, because none of us are motivated to be out there at 3:30 in the morning, especially when it's day 6 of the horse show. It just comes from knowing that this is what you need to do and making yourself do it. Are you looking for that extra competitive edge, struggling with show pen anxiety, or looking to set and achieve meaningful goals with your horse? Schedule a session with me, Lauren, your dedicated mindset coach. As an experienced competitor, I understand the mental demands required to excel at the highest level, and I'm here to support you in building a plan to help you stay accountable and reaching those goals. For more information, check out laurencervelli.com or click on the website link in our show notes. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
Hi, everyone. It's your personal trainer, Ellie. If you're looking to become a stronger, more balanced, and flexible rider, I'm here to help. I offer virtual personal training sessions and customized workout plans that you can complete on your own. As a fellow competitor, I understand the physical demands riding requires, and my goal is to help you perform your best for your horse, whether you're preparing for a show or just want to improve your everyday rides. Visit lopeanddowntherailfitness.com or click on my website tab in the notes of this podcast episode to learn more. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
The next chapter that we're going to dive into is when you're a cleaner, you get into the zone, shut out everything else, and control the uncontrollable. There's a little section here that I want to read to you because I think it's so good. It says, a cooler gets everyone cranked up and emotional before the game. A closer gets himself cranked up and emotional before the game. A cleaner never gets cranked up or emotional. He stays cool and calm and saves it all for game time. And I think this is really like a great way to look at those three different levels and kind of maybe gauge where you're at. So for me, I used to get all these butterflies and I would think, wow, I'm so nervous. Like, how am I going to juggle this? And then I would let those nerves kind of dictate how the class went. You know, we did a whole episode on how I used to kind of be a finals flop person of when the showtime would come, the prelims, I would dominate. But then it would come to the finals and I'd be almost dead last every time. And it wasn't because I wasn't good enough. It's because mentally I would crank myself up and then make so many mistakes. And once I got that control of my emotions and mind, the rest just came so much easier. And turning those nerves into quote unquote excitement and dedication and just kind of a reassurance that you are on the right track, I think that was a really, really big game changer for me. It provided a lot of mental clarity. And there's another quote that I want to read from this chapter. It's called, "Cleaners don't celebrate their achievements because they always expect to win." And while there's a lot of this that I believe and agree with, there's maybe some tweaks I want to make to this quote. So that way we can have it be a little more realistic, or at least for me, what I think and what it means to me when I step into the arena. I think we should celebrate our achievements. We shouldn't go and maybe throw a block party every time we accomplish some tiny thing. But we do need to acknowledge that the choices and the effort that we have put forth to achieve whatever it is that we did, it took a lot from us. And sometimes it takes a lot mentally, it takes a lot physically, it takes a lot time-wise. Acknowledge that it was worth it and that the choices you made led up to something good. You know, I think a lot of times we don't take the time to give ourselves enough credit for that. And that, I think, can lead to some burnout because you start to wonder, well, what am I even doing this for? And if we celebrate those little victories along the way to the greatest goal, then I think it keeps us able to keep driving and keep pushing. Which takes us to the second half of this quote is, they always expect to win. And that is something I resonate with so much, but not in those exact words. I always expect to show up and perform to the best of my abilities, which would be considered winning. I don't think that the win in this sentence and in my life comes from an actual first place ribbon from the judges. For me, that win comes from when I walk out of the arena and my trainer says, "You got all you could out of that horse. Great job." Or my trainer says, that was right on line with our game plan. You are on track for our end goal of November. You know, I think that's a really big reason to be confident and build confidence is when we don't allow that win that we are expecting to come from validation from the judges. It comes from knowing what you are capable of and performing it. That's a win. That's the win that I am hunting every single time I step into the arena. And a lot of times I can do this by visualization, focusing on my breathing. And some people really resonate with maybe some pre-ride rituals. For me, that would kind of just be like music, getting in the zone. But the big, big thing I rely on is visualization. I do it even when I'm just in the cross ties getting ready for my ride at home. So like today, Astro, we're really working on getting his shoulders broke loose. And I knew that, my trainer was going to have some thoughts. And based on my previous ride, I was going through and thinking, okay, I'm going to ride him in the snaffle and I'm going to have the reins in both hands. I'm going to think about the amount of pressure that I'm applying with my fingers and what release I'm feeling in his mouth as he gives left and right. I'm going to take his head to the right. And when I do that, if he is not straighten up in his shoulders, he's going to leak out in the left rib cage. Do I want to support him with my calves? Is that going to need a spur correction? Do I need to be using my knees or my thighs? I'm thinking about, okay, the weight in my stirrups, the balance in my hips, the direction of my shoulders and my chest. Am I leaning too far forward? Am I sitting too far back? Where is my weight affecting and contributing to the things that he is doing? And at what point do I want to allow him to make a mistake versus kind of teach him and show him? And these are the things that are running through my head, which makes me feel so much more confident when I get on him, because no matter what he throws at me, I have already thought through all of these situations and I have an immediate response and reaction to the cues that he has given me, which I think is so cool and why I am such a big preacher in visualization, because it takes your game to the highest level because it pushes you to ask yourself questions. And if you don't know the answer to that, it pushes you to go and find it. Reach out to your trainer, reach out to a friend, find a YouTube video, rewatch your own videos. Ask yourself, why is this happening? And then visualize, how do I make it better, right? And I think that it is such a cool practice that we should definitely all throw in. So the next chapter that we're going to look at is, when you're a cleaner, you know exactly who you are. Cleaners don't need validation. Cleaners know their worth, and they don't apologize for what that means.
Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. Are you loving our show and looking for a way to show your support? Check out our line of Elevate Your Ride merchandise. From stylish t-shirts to cozy hoodies to journals and hats, we have everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Ready to gear up? Click on the Buy Our Merchandise Here link in the podcast notes, or head on over to our website, elevateyourride.co, and click on the Store tab. Thank you for your support. Make sure to like, follow, and share our platform with your friends.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to Elevate Your Ride. We're so excited to continue helping you elevate your performance in the saddle. To keep bringing you quality content and information, we're asking you to help us. Tell your friends about us on our podcast, like and share a meaningful quote you saw on our social media, write us a review on Spotify or Facebook. You can also join our Facebook group and ask all your health and fitness questions, or maybe post a success story to motivate another amateur. Your engagement really helps us support and encourage the equestrian community. We're also inviting sponsors and supporters to help us build our show. As a sponsor, starting at just $150, you'll receive marketing on our podcast, website, and growing social media platforms for your business. It's the perfect way to connect with the equestrian community and showcase your brand to our dedicated listeners. And for our supporters, your $50 contribution gets you a shout out on our social media and website. Every bit of support really helps fuel the show and helps us inspire and motivate equestrians. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can scroll down to the show notes of this episode and look for the become a supporter or become a sponsor links and click on those to get some more information. Thank you for listening. We can't wait to continue expanding our platform and helping you elevate your ride.
The quote from this chapter that I really liked was, "They don't worry about being liked. They worry about being respected." What's the difference between being liked and being respected? Do you think you're liked or do you think you're respected? Do you care? I really think that being liked used to be a big driving force for me because I just wanted to make everyone happy. And I used to think that everyone happy meant that they liked me. And in order to do that, I sacrificed pieces of myself to try to fit whatever that person needed. Did I like me? Maybe not. But as long as they did, it felt like that was okay. But then I realized it's not really respectable because you're not being authentic to who you are and what you stand for and what you know. And when you're respected, people come to you because they know you're going to tell them the truth. They know you're going to do what's beyond what's expected. They know that you are capable, they know that you are competent, and they know that you are authentic. And being authentic means knowing who you are. And it's a process. I mean, here I am at, dare I say, 32 years old, and I am kind of probably in the last year figuring out exactly who I am. But once I started taking steps towards who I am, that's when doors started opening. And that's when I started reaching new levels of writing, new levels of achievement, new levels of opportunities. But it's because I leaned into who I was and I started getting respected for being that authentic, true self. It helps you too to be able to know what to say no to. Because if you say yes to everything, your yes means nothing. But if you say no to things that aren't important to you, when you say yes, people are like, wow, thank you. That means a lot. So I think that that's a really, really good question to ask yourself. Do you know who you are? And is what you're focusing on getting you closer to that and aligning with what that is? And a big thing too here I want to make sure that we know is knowing who you are comes with a confidence that doesn't need to come with a sense of arrogance. Knowing who you are should be a humbling experience. It shouldn't mean you put down other people because you think you're better than them. It should not mean you don't need to keep learning because you know everything. Knowing who you are means you know that all of us can always learn something from someone else. And the final chapter that we are going to cover today is when you're a cleaner, you have a dark side that refuses to be taught how to be good. Whew, what do you think that's going to be about? It's going to be an interesting one. So this is probably Tim Grover's most controversial kind of chapter here. He even talks about it in his audiobook because I'm not going to lie to you guys, I've listened to this on audio probably 5 times. And I've listened to it more than I've read it. But in there, he kind of has these little side elements that he talks to his, I think it's the publisher. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's his publisher that he has these little side conversations with. And this is the one that he gets the most emails about. The most where people say, no, that's not true. Elite businessmen and athletes, they don't have a dark side. It's only bad people that you're talking about. Well, I don't know. Part of me kind of believes it. I'm not saying that dark side means that you're a bad person. For me, the dark side is you're obsessed. And this quote just like really summed it up was, you can't be relentless if you're willing to be stopped. And I think that unwillingness to be stopped, unwillingness to be bridled, unwillingness to pursue whatever it is, I think that is the quote unquote dark side because it makes other people uncomfortable because it almost shines a light on their lack of willingness to go to that level. And then that's when people start saying that that's bad and what you're doing is unbalanced. It's okay to be unbalanced. Do we want to just live a mediocre average life in every single aspect? I know I sure don't. I want to be passionate and excited about certain things. Is one of those things dishes? Absolutely not. I'm never going to be a cleaner on dishes. So we don't need to worry about being cleaners in every area of our lives because that would be exhausting. But you know what? Be obsessed with something and be unwilling to settle. It's okay. And you know what? It is attractive to see someone who is excited and knows what they want. And people are drawn to that. So go and just find joy in the process. And I think that sometimes people look at this and say, oh, well, you're going to get burned out. Well, you're only burned out if you're doing it for somebody else or if you're not doing it for somebody else. If it is strictly this internal drive within you to win the most stuff, to make the most money, to show up to work every single day an hour before everybody else, like if it's just an internal drive that you cannot explain, you're not going to get burned out because it's all you. It's you making these choices and decisions. It's you who gets excited. And I just really think that if we would embrace this dark side, we could accomplish a lot. And I know, like, for me, my dark side really showed itself when I first started trying to do the DIY. And I tried for a long time. And then finally I did. But it took a whole heck of a lot of simply trying. I became obsessed. I watched every single YouTube video on horses that there was. I watched every single training channel. I subscribed to Clint Anderson. I subscribed to Amelia Newcomb Dressage. Like, I went outside the box. I got virtual lessons from every trainer who would possibly give it to me. I did video lessons with my mentor at the time. You know, we spent hours discussing different training techniques and philosophies and, you know, going back to the drawing board and trying something and seeing if it worked or it didn't work. I wasn't afraid to fail in this process. I was just obsessed with learning. And a lot of times the failure meant, hey, now I know that this doesn't work. And now that it's been 5 years of doing this, like getting my young horses and then turning them into show horses, some of those failures are actually working in another horse in a different area. But if I hadn't tried and failed, and then tried a different way and failed, and then tried a different way and succeeded, I wouldn't have all these different things to be able to try. And I think that that's where, you know, embracing your dark side can become a bright side and give you just so many options. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? You think the dark side is as bad as some people think it? I think it's okay. Well, that kind of wraps up those chapters that we want to dive into. I think there's a lot of really deep and fun topics that we covered today. If you guys don't mind, you know, in the comments under this show, like, let me know what you think. Do you feel like you're a closer, a cleaner, or maybe just a cooler? And the thing is that we do also need to tell ourselves is it's okay to be a cooler and a closer. We don't all have to be cleaners. But we can all be inspired by a cleaner and learn from them and take parts of this that excite us and turn it into certain areas of our lives that we can, you know, work harder and be better at. You know, being relentless isn't about talent. It's about your mindset and taking action. So this week, go out and take action on something. If you want to get that promotion at work, what steps do you need to take? Go and do it. Be relentless about it. If you want to go and win the horse show that you're going to, how many reps of visualization have you done? Take some action. Make it happen because you can push yourself harder than anyone else ever would. So, thanks, guys. Can't wait to keep going with this. We'll chat next time.
Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. Find us on Instagram and Facebook, all linked in the podcast notes. We'll see you next time. The information provided by Elevate Your Ride is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical or professional advice. While we discuss health and fitness topics related to equestrians, the content provided through this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. The views expressed by the host and guests on Elevate Your Ride are their own and should not be taken as professional guidance. We strive to provide accurate and up to date information, but we cannot guarantee that the information will be applicable to every individual listener or that it reflects the most current research or guidelines. Before making any changes to your health and fitness routine, we strongly recommend consulting with a qualified professional who can provide personalized advice based on your individual needs and circumstances. Elevate Your Ride and its creators will not be liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, special, exemplary, or other damages arising from the use of information on this podcast. Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. We are committed to providing high quality content and appreciate your trust in us as a source of information for your health and fitness journey.